Okay, we are getting ready to bond this together here. So these brackets, I've trimmed out areas that I think will be in contact in my application. Mind you, I did reinforce this, so mine's a bit thicker here, and of course a little bit more inconsistent because my vacuum bagging technique wasn't maybe the best. I've got nut certs installed, at least on this panel already, and using a small crescent wrench, you're able to bend the metal and kind of contour it. So you get it, close enough, maybe no more than like 1.5 mils, 2 mils tops. And essentially you want your adhesive to be able to bond and bridge to that without too much adhesive. So the closer the fit, the better. In this case scenario, on the topic of adhesives, I'm using the 3M DP420. Bonds well to metal and also carbon and other composites. I've also used probably like an 80 grit and scuffed up this top and bottom. Things to note here. So this is the driver's door panel, and looking on the inside of the panel, of course, these are leaning back, and you'll be able to see that same thing on the actual door. So I've got a door over here, and this is the driver's side door. So you can see this has a bit of a lean to it here. The angle is a little bit more aggressive on the part that I've got made, but it should still work just fine. And again, these are the stops for the glass itself. Things to keep in mind, you probably do want to take your door gaskets, line it up to the new panels, cut your holes probably before you start bonding everything together. I'm going to test that theory out because I've not done all of the holes for the passenger door, at least with regards to the gasket. So the other thing here is I've gone around and I've cut all of this down, at least sanded it down so it's pretty smooth and level. On my door, because I didn't get the skins adhered together, I've had to cut into this one a good bit. Realized this one had a bit of a pocket. Nothing that the glue won't fill, but that actually is going to be pretty important to get the panel to fit up properly, because the outer skin, of course, has the groove that runs all the way down the panel. Where is that? There it is. And that is essentially this guy here. Same thing on the other side. I've gone through and scuffed up all the interior. So anywhere this thing is going to glue up, that's a sanded surface. And yeah, I'm doing the bonding operations on both doors at the same time. And I'm kind of getting everything staged and ready to go here. Other things to note, with these little, it's an EPDM foam. It's pretty weather resistant. It is easy to sand, and I would actually recommend mounting it to the bracket, sanding it to fit. Of course, where it's going to mate up against is not a perfectly flat surface, so these are thick, and the intention is to sand them down. They sand very quickly and easily, and you can overshoot. I probably did a little bit on this guy. And that, of course, fits up here. There it is. So a bit of trial and error to get it to fit right, but a little bit of test fitting, and I think you'll be all set. So with regards to these, you'll want to scuff up any surface that is going to be bonded to the composite just to give it the best chance. Being that this is all 316 stainless, there should be 0 galvanic corrosion to the carbon, so a good long-lasting solution. So with this, let's see if I can get the camera in one go here. So line this side up first. And of course I'm doing this camera in hand, so not the best results here. And you're going to drop it in on the other side. So essentially you're kind of wedging this foam against that outer bar, or the outer part of the skin. For the one that is a bolt-in solution, you won't have to go through this much effort. What I probably would suggest for the bolt-in kit, get everything finished on this side here, bond this panel in. You can always run the bars, or at least these beams, through this hole and get everything set up, but this main bracket that runs along this side, the forward part of the door, once it's in place, you'll never have to mess with it again. What's going to be included? Everyone's going to get, it's an acrylic piece, so you can peel this off if you want. Let's see if I can get the angle here. Yeah. So this is going to be your cut template for all the holes, and this is also the same template you can use if you want to align your door hinges to kind of get everything the best shot at fitting up. This hole here corresponds to this. So the intention is you can pilot the hole, and when this piece is in, you can cut and trim to fit. This is a pretty nominal size, and you can easily get plugs, I believe, for that, or 3D print something, or feed wire through with a grommet. The other part is these guys will make gluing this assembly together easier. If this foam is a little bit thick, it's going to want to push this bracket away from the door. So if you want to kind of line things up really nicely, you can use the acrylic piece and the factory bolts, and you're sandwiching the composite in between these things. So you're going to pull the door frame assembly to this. So essentially this guy will go here, and I'm going to bolt the assemblies together. And that'll hold it up while things dry. And again, the intention is you're gluing this guy into the door skin. So, wish me luck. Hopefully this all works out well. It should. Put a lot of thought behind this, so fingers crossed, and I'll get another video once it's all said and done. Okay, so this is how the glue up went. Did exactly as I described before. The steel structure on the inside. I put some adhesive on the inner skin on both sides. Again, this is the catch side. Drop the steel reinforcement in. I use the plexiglass, or pardon, acrylic part, and basically just screwed it in. Once that bracket was in, I don't have any pictures of this, but I basically just ran a seam of the adhesive along the top, and it's just viscous enough where it'll start to seep in, but not so viscous that it just seeps entirely through. That said, I would be prepared for some cleanup. So being that I've not taken any of these bolts back out, it may be prudent to do a little bit of wax on them. I'll figure that out here very quickly if I made a mistake or not. I ran out of clamps gluing this thing up, so I'm using a piece of wood, some bigger clamps. So definitely lots of little clamps if you're using these things. All things considered, I'd say this went quite smoothly. I'll see about getting some light in here. Maybe this one's actually better. So on these brackets, I'd put out a fair bit of the glue all around those 3 feet where this thing's going to sit. Drop the bracket on, and some of it would kind of come up to the top, and I'd basically just layer on more adhesive on the top. And it doesn't self-level, but it definitely does settle. So it goes through all the holes, and if you do have some gap, you can actually put the glue gun into the hole, squeeze, and it fills below quite well. So I'd say that did all right, all things considered. Let's get a different perspective of it. So, well, here's hoping that it all went smoothly. That one's way in there somewhere. Yeah, not gonna be able to see it. So that is essentially the entire job. Something to keep in mind for me, or for everyone else. Being that this is a replica of the factory door, these factory doors, they have the outer skin and they roll the steel around the inner skin. So the inner skin is essentially kind of a known dimension, and they're using this to kind of, more or less wrap around. The composite is kind of in the opposite direction, where your outer skin is essentially a copy of whatever door that happens to come off of. So there could be a little bit of variability. In my case, the inner skin, because I did extra reinforcements on that, I probably have maybe an 1/8 inch or a mil of maybe a gap. And that's where essentially I'm gonna have to do a little bit of either fill work or something to kind of close the gap. And of course I'll have to gap the panels properly, so something to be aware of, because everything is going to be just ever so slightly different. So just expect a little bit of work on that, especially if you're doing the door skin. All that said, I think this went pretty smoothly.